Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I'm joined once again by Val.
Hello.
Today we're going to be seeing Herr Robert versus Chickendew in round 4 lower bracket of the 4th Asia Pacific tournament. And today this is Omaha, and Herr Robert's using his first Pancerna and Chickendew's using the 15th Infantry Scots. So what are your thoughts going into this one, Val?
This is a map that really I think is good for both decks. We were talking just before we started this cast that this map is not really an armoured map. It has a lot of forest, well, I say forest, a lot of good tree lines, a lot of buildings. And I mean, Chickendew, the 15th Scots, is fantastic in this position. It's just enough range, you've got your really good fire support units, you've got all of your incredible value infantry. But Herr Robert as well, he's got his own sort of punchbacks really. He's got those hurricanes which are fantastic, he's got his Polish Streltsy. You know, this is really I think going to come down to how well they use their support units, like the planes in the support tab.
Yeah, so both divisions are very strong allied divisions against the Axis, but it'll be interesting to see how they go up against each other here. Obviously, you got on the side of Chickendew and the 15th Infantry, you got Churchill 5s, you got Churchill AVREs, of course, in Phase A at least, and both of those can definitely pack a punch. The Churchill 5 won't be as useful because it's generally there to exploit 1,200 meter range engagements. But the AVRE could definitely smash into a lot of these buildings in the center here and on the top side. Like especially on the top, like an AVRE would be really nice to not only secure that town on the side of Chickendew, but also push aggressively into the other one. It's almost a perfect range there for an AVRE to work. So that's something that Chickendew could take advantage of. On the side of Herr Robert, he's going to be relying on maybe the Cromwell 5 again. We did see him use that alongside a Morris LRC very aggressively in another game. He also has access to Cromwell 6s, but again, they exploit 1,200 meter range, so less likely. But still has a lot of options in terms of like his air force, and if he accompanies that by decent recon, then he can definitely exploit that.
Definitely can. Look at just how much stuff is on this bottom side for Herr Robert. He's going to go for a real concentrated push on this bottom side.
Yeah, so we have the Cromwell 5 down here, Stuart 5, there's a Morris LRC, there's going to be, I think that's 5-6 units of Streltsy. That's an incredible amount of units deployed on one side of the map. He's just going to have a skeleton force for the mid of 2 Streltsy with a command, and then 2 Streltsy on the top side. So he will basically almost feint against Chickendew here, or of having stuff in this top side. He will push the front line forwards with that infantry, but there won't actually be any substance there. But it's going to be very costly for Chickendew to try and test that, since it is a quite nice defensive position for Herr Robert to have. If he just places them defensively in those buildings, they'll still be able to prevent other rifle squads from pushing into them. But on the side of Chickendew, let's have a look at what he's doing. He's doing a similar thing on the top. He's 2 rifles and a command carrier with command infantry. He does have an AT gun sort of going to cover the just below that top town there with the open area, and Vickers HMG rifles and an MMG carrier with some recon there. But we can see that Chickendew may be butting heads with Herr Robert here, since his honey is starting on the bottom side with an AT gun, and there is a lot of rifles, almost matching the same number that Herr Robert has in the same place.
We see another Auster recon plane coming out. I believe he used this last time. He used a similar strategy. And that's going to be good for him. There isn't really anything that can stop that, so he's going to get full view of this, pretty decent sized response from Chickendew. But I mean, these Cromwells are really, really good, especially against sort of the weaker A-phase honeys.
Yeah, they are like 2-star Cromwell 5s, and they can do a lot of damage. But I am surprised to see, well, I would hope to see that Chickendew does bring in AA sort of on his first tick, maybe, seeing that this recon plane has come in, because the recon planes accompanied by the hurricanes can do so much damage. And often when you do see a recon unit played, you often sort of kind of twig that it's going to be what I like to call like a gonzo, where somebody's going real hard into your front line on a single side of the map. Like that's where this sort of recon play came from, and Gonzo was really the first person we saw competitively to to master that. And now, obviously, Herr Robert has taken that style of play and is going to be using it here. Has brought in a Hurricane Mark IV, and yeah, the first thing I'd want to see in response to this is an AA piece, regardless of how much losses he's going to start taking on the ground here, which currently is quite a lot. His rifle's not doing well. His Stuart does go down, and that's just going to allow this Cromwell to start charging through. The 6-pounder did get spotted by the recon plane, has not been pinned down again just yet, so may find a couple shots onto the Cromwell 5. It's only a matter of time till the Hurricane's going to come in with that pin. There we go.
This is really unfortunate for Chickendew, not just because he's really losing on his bottom side, but you mentioned it a little bit earlier, the makeup of this map makes it really costly to push, even against these two Streltsy at the top. That's not an easy thing to push into with just rifles and a command carrier. This is really going to be hard to come back from for Chickendew, I think.
Yeah, I think Chickendew did need to sort of invest in an aviary early on, regardless of what he thought Herr Robert was going to do. I think now bringing it in, like he did just bring it in actually as soon as I said that, but now it's a bit late. It's going to be very slow to get to the front line. In the meantime, Herr Robert's still going to be making ground, and yes, it may slow down Herr Robert's advance, but if he doesn't bring in any AA, like a second Hurricane's going to arrive, and that aviary is going to get pinned anyway. And the other thing about an aviary against the composition of forces that Herr Robert has, this Cromwell 5 can still get close enough to penetrate an aviary. Like at this range sort of engagement with these tree lines being relatively close, if he gets within 400 meter range, he's still going to be able to pen that front armor. And that's something that Chickendew is going to have to be worried about.
If you have a look at the commands, there is absolutely nothing moving on this top side. So I feel like Chickendew, I don't know whether he's kind of a bit startled maybe with just how much is down here, but he needs to branch out. He's got his AA coming in though, so that is the correct response. It's just, will it be enough?
Yeah, he's just unloaded it pretty early there actually to try and get rid of this Ulster. It will prevent the Hurricane from sort of flying further back, and wow, actually took down the Ulster. Those tripolstons are pretty lethal and proving their lethality there. The Hurricane though, probably going to still be able to make strafing runs without being affected by that because it was unloaded very early indeed.
Maybe a bit of a mistake, but I can definitely see why Chickendew did it. That ouster was one of the main reasons why this has gone so poorly for him at the start. The aviary is coming in though, so we have to see how this does.
Yeah, I think also the other thing is this tripolston shooting down the recon aircraft does actually allow him to use 6-pounders without it being immediately pinned by the Hurricane. So that's what I'd like to see next, and that is exactly what he's going to do. Chickendew on point with his sort of response now. He's probably thought about it, and he's like, what can I do about this? And yeah, he's kind of come in with that concoction of units, the tripolston and the 6-pounder, using the tripolston to cover it, will allow the 6-pounder to be effective and slow down this push from Herr Robert, whilst he then thinks about how he's going to make ground maybe elsewhere on the map, or try and push back or counter push if he can start to break down some of these units. But so far, Herr Robert's done a fantastic job. He's managed to sweep through all of the rifle squads that were in the town just north of the blob, and yeah, now he's just continuing forwards. The Streltsy is still relatively healthy. The aviary may change that very quickly, but we're going to have to wait and see if Chickendew can use the aviary to sort of push back, I guess. But it seems like Herr Robert's just going to try and go round it.
The aviary though just annihilates what's left of a Streltsy squad. It is very dangerous, but you know, I feel like this is the kind of position where if you're Herr Robert, you do what he's doing now. Just go around it. You know, why fight this unit that's really slow and it's got 600 meter range in its gun? Try and push in this middle area. You know, if you kind of think logically about what's happened, you can expect your opponent will be bringing in reinforcements like crazy to this bottom side. Try and swing up, get some units through, go up behind the top side forces.
I love this this Morris LRC actually having a chance to use its boys anti-tank rifle. It's not something you get to see very often, so I'm very glad for that Morris LRC crew managing to prove their worth against a couple of brain carriers. And finding a salient for Herr Robert, he's got the +2 on the board now with 62% territory lead, so he's sitting in a comfortable position. I think honestly, like an AT gun of his own might not go amiss, or he could maybe just try and invest more in units that can go around the aviary, for example.
I think if I were him, I would probably start investing for a push up top. I'd get some more Streltsy, dump them on this top side. I'm not sure what his availability is like though, because he's deployed a lot of them, and it's not quite phase B yet.
Yeah, so in Chickendew's side of things, we can see the Churchill 5 on the way to sort of assist against a small push that Herr Robert is making in the mid now. It looks like he's struggling to find options to take care of the aviary on the bottom side, and therefore is deciding to invest on the top instead. Ooh, nice kill there for the 6-pounder on the side of Chickendew. Going to take out, I think it was a unit of command infantry before it unloaded, but the Hurricane's still causing issues now on the top side instead of the bottom side, and there's even a second Hurricane coming in. Herr Robert definitely not been prevented from using those, and with the 6-pounder pinned there, it's probably not going to make much of a difference to the infantry advance from Herr Robert, but you know, is going to do damage over time, and we saw the Hurricane make short work of a 6-pounder on the bottom side previously.
I think as a PSA to anyone who's playing Robert using this deck, start the game with a Tripolston, maybe 2 Tripolstons, because
just 1 AA is all you need.
Yeah, something to deal with this, because we saw this the last time we saw him come up against. I'm trying to remember who it was. It was against Protosoccer, wasn't it? And we saw the exact same thing happen. And, you know, this is the kind of way that the Poles operate. Is they've got this really cheap frontline Streltsy. They've got some good armor, but for me, I think the Hurricanes are the real heroes of the Polish side at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. They're very cost-efficient units. Like, they're only 110-point fighters, which is the cheapest fighters that the Allies can get, and they just have a lot of firepower and a lot of ability to pin down units. There is now a Tripolston joining that top side, which will push back a couple of these Hurricanes, but what Chickendew now needs is more infantry availability, and like you mentioned, I think his availability of infantry right now is going to be on the low side. He's lost a lot of that early on. Like on the side of Herr Robert, he had loads of them because they didn't really take much damage on the advance, but on the side of Chickendew, like that's what he needs to invest in now, and it is what he's going to go for. So he does have a few rifles left, like something that I wouldn't necessarily think the 15th Infantry Scots is bad for is lack of infantry availability. Like normally you think of the 15th Infantry Scots as one that has amazing infantry availability. So yeah, good to see those infantry coming out there, and maybe not going to be able to make the difference to get the game back in his favour, but it's a start.
It's a start, but he's losing ground all over the place. I mean, as the inevitable consequence of having to reinforce this bottom side, his mid side has really suffered a bit. And we see a nice little push coming in from Herr Robert here. He's got his Stuart command vehicle, and the 6-pounder is not really in a position to do anything about it.
Yeah, the unit disparity for Phase A is just absolutely insane right now. Just the pure quantity of units that Herr Robert is using across both the bottom side and the top side now is overwhelming for Chickendew, and Chickendew having fallen behind so far in the amount of units that he did lose is definitely going to affect the rest of the game now. It's inevitable. The only way that really Chickendew can come back is maybe bringing in some powerful units like the Churchill 7s maybe in Phase B that can start to push forwards more aggressively onto things like the Cromwell 5 and the Morris LRCs and stuff. Because, yeah, okay, you've got Churchill 5 and an AVRE, but you can't get them too close to like a Cromwell 5, for example, because it will still die without really being able to return the favour. The Tripolston being lost there on the top side there, that is a huge mistake from Chickendew, because now the Hurricanes are back out again, and that's just gonna hurt more and more.
I think all you need to do to look at how this game is going is look at the mini-map. You know, this isn't one of those games where one side has got, you know, maybe 1 or 2 super high expensive units. This is a game where both sides are using pretty modestly priced units, so when Herr Robert has so many more on the mini-map than Chickendew does, you know it's not going to plan.
Yeah, indeed. And this MG carrier is trying to support some rifles as they push through, but the Cromwell 5 going to pin down those immediately. And it's just these tree lines and the line of sight through these tree lines is just so obscure that it's very hard to push back now for Chickendew, now that sort of Herr Robert's just decided to entrench himself on this bottom side and then went for the open range engagement on the top side instead. You know, just completely swung it around, realised he'd kind of hit a brick wall in the AVRE, and just decided to push it elsewhere. Just a really, really good macro decision that is going to give him more ground in the game. And I mean, he's now sitting up a +3 comfortably, so just getting very, very far ahead in this game. But the Spitfire Mark 9 there, oh, I'd like to see that follow up the Hurricane Mark 4 actually that he was originally chasing, because now I think both of those Hurricanes are going to end up getting away.
The top one might die, but I think it does depend. The Spitfire is not the fastest plane in the world. It's not bad, but
looks like it might just catch it. Yeah, there we go. So one of the Hurricanes went down, and yeah, the Spitfire is going to be able to come in for the strafing run, but I'd like to see that Spitfire instead just sort of evac, get out of there, make sure he has it ready for the next Hurricanes, because the Spitfire is definitely not as effective at strafing ground forces as a Hurricane is. But another tripulse or like in this case the Bofors did come in, the AA piece there, but now that's being overwhelmed as well. And that's a lot of points to lose for free. Like the Tripulsin being killed initially and now the Bofors going down. Like that is not good at all.
I think this game's been over for a while, but I think this specific is kind of sealed now. There's not really anything that I think Chickendew can do. Even if he brings in some of these kind of heavy units, he's got access to the Crocodile now and the Command Churchill.
Yeah.
But he's just what's it going to do? He doesn't have the rest of like enough points to get the supporting units he needs for them.
Yeah, we do see on the top side as well that the Churchill 5 has now gone down. The Bofors is dead. There is no air cover left. The Spitfire is out of ammunition and leaving in the face of the Hurricane Mark 3 and the Mustang Mark 3 and the Hurricane Mark 4. Probably wouldn't have stood much of a chance either, but it's just, I don't know. Yeah, like you said, there's nothing really left to do here. He could bring in a Churchill 7, but doesn't really have the infantry to support that moving forwards. I guess one thing that would cause it to work is that it doesn't have to worry so much about AT infantry, because we haven't really seen Herr Robert bring in any like Dragoni, for example. He's relied almost solely on Strelzy. So that's something he might be able to exploit with something like, well, he's brought in a Crocodile on the top side, but the Churchill 7 would also be a relatively good choice as it deals with armour quite nicely and is a lot quicker due to not having to tow that trailer. But we do see like the Stuart now going down as well there, the Honey Stuart for Chickendew and on the top side.
It's not looking good, is it?
And yeah, +3.
Like I was saying before, you've got this Crocodile, but you've got nothing to support it. I mean, the stuff on the bottom side is just getting overwhelmed now, and you know, I feel for Chickendew because this is a position that no one wants to be in.
Yeah, he just lost the positioning early on in the tree lines, and you can see that he's been making a little bit of progress pushing back. Like a lot of the infantry on the bottom side for Herr Robert has actually died now. Like the AVRE has been picking them off slowly but surely, but it hasn't been quick enough, right? It was always going to be very hard considering the concentration of forces Herr Robert put down onto this bottom side early on. You can see that the 6-pounder did pop the Cromwell there, and the other Cromwell on the bottom side did suffer an internal fragment previously to the 6-pounder. But yeah, with the top side spawns being cut off now, or at least the mid spawns being cut off by the Strelzy unit, the units coming on to the field are extremely predictable now, and Herr Robert can quite simply just bring AT guns right up to those reinforcement locations, and just cut off Chickendew from bringing in anything for the rest of the game, and therefore he will inevitably lose. And this 6-pounder here is going to move into the tree line. I don't think the flamethrower is going to be in range. 6-pounder's not even spotted at that range, and the Churchill's showing side armor. Crocodile goes down.
There was some weird stuff
what Chickendew wants to see.
Some weird stuff. I was watching the command orders. Some weird reverses that Chickendew was doing there. I'm not sure what he's got his reverse key bound to, but he was reversing towards that tree line where the 6-pounder was. It was curious.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. There is a Churchill 7 coming in on this bottom side, and that accompanied by an AVRE can make a lot of work. But +4, 81% territory lead for Herr Robert. Herr Robert's now cut off the top side land spawn. No coming back in this one, and I don't think anyone would really hold Chickendew accountable for surrendering early in this one, as I think most people would in this situation. It's not good at all. 1 minute and 10 seconds left on the clock until Herr Robert seals the deal with the score. It looks like Chickendew's just maybe trying to prove a point now with the AVRE and Churchill. Like in Phase B and Phase C going into this game, those units in particular are extremely strong against First Pancerna until Fireflies get involved. And even when they do, like a Churchill at close range can take out Fireflies, but we just haven't got to that point. Like, you can see how Robert's still relying on Cromwells, and he's kind of just throwing them away here on this bottom side. The 6-pounder is going to be pinned down. Cromwell 4 going to be able to probably finish that off, but yeah, just didn't really get to the point that Chickendew was most likely looking for in this game. He played very defensive from the offset.
He did, and I feel like he wasn't ready for that concentrated push. He really wasn't. And again, like we talked about this a little bit before, but if you're playing against Herr Robert and he's playing this deck, bring some AA at the start, because he will really punish you. You know, your AT gets spotted, he kills your AT, and with a deck like the Scots as well, there's not really much in the way of A-phase infantry anti-tank. In fact, there's not really. I mean, the Piats are terrible. In the command squad have anti-tank grenades, and was it Piats? Either way, they're both terrible.
Yeah, 6-pounders are okay, but they were just getting pinned by those hurricanes, and I don't know. After 17 minutes and 10 seconds, Herr Robert is going to take the victory over Chickendew. 1,140 kills there to 805 losses. So you can see towards the end, I think Herr Robert was probably just getting a bit careless with his units, because it didn't really matter. But yeah, either way, like moving into Phase B and C, that's when the 15th Infantry maybe would have been able to find an advantage, at least in Phase B, when the 1st Pancerna only has access to their weaker Firefly 1C, I think it is. But in Phase C, those 2, or like the 1-star Fireflies made 2-star by command could definitely pack a punch against like an AVRE and a Churchill, because they just outrange them and stuff. Well, probably not on that map because of the close range engagement, but I think just in general, you know, Herr Robert, really nice macro play in a sense that he pushed on the bottom side, found his advantage, and then was like, oh, this is where Chickendew's invested into with the AVRE. I'll just go push on the top side now, or like top mid side. And yeah, it just worked really, really well to just seal the deal early on in this game before Chickendew had any power units on the field.
I think maybe something for Chickendew to look forward in the future is I've noticed in some of the games he's been playing that we've casted, he's been the kind of player, he's really spread himself reasonably thin. I think in a 1v1, you kind of have to try and get the most out of your most bang for your buck, basically, and that is going for a big push, is usually the case. And the one thing that I was really impressed with Herr Robert, especially kind of recognizing on this map, was where he could get away with leaving such small amount of defense. You know, he had like 30 points worth of rifles, or Streltsy, should I say, on that top side.
Yeah.
And you know, Chickendew was sat on the other side of that with, you know, I think he had two rifles, which are more expensive to begin with. I think they're 20 as opposed to 15.
Yeah.
And then he has a command squad as well with a command carrier, and that is a lot more points. And then it was even a bigger disparity in the middle. Herr Robert had nothing there really. He had, I think it was a Streltsy and a command squad or something like that. Maybe he had an AT, but Chickendew put a lot more there as well. And when you spread yourself out like that, you really do open yourself up to these really kind of hard diamond edge pushes.
Yeah, indeed. And we can see the effectiveness of that in the losses tab. Like you can see, like we have on the right side here, Chickendew's kills, and none of the he got 3 kills, one of them being on the Tri-Polston that he brought in like really late in Phase A, and then like the AVRE starting to come into play. Like from that initial push, Herr Robert did so much damage in comparison. Like if you switch over to the kills tab, you can see the shooter like and the victim there. Like Herr Robert's units just really just tearing Chickendew apart before Chickendew really had any effective units to counter it, because he'd invested all over the map as opposed to just on one side. He did have more of his rifles placed on the bottom, and you know, I did sort of see it as though it would be matched up a little bit better But once the honey died, there was nothing there to stop the rifles from being run over. With no sort of 6-pounder available, since the Hurricane took care of that. And yeah, I don't know. There wasn't really much else Chickendew could have done early, other than maybe invested a little bit more points in a concentrated push, or just bring in an AA against the first Pancerna. Like it is a big mistake not to count those Hurricanes and how effective they can be.
I think that's about it for this one, really. It's unfortunate for Chickendew. He's I think the road for him is over, unfortunately, in this tournament. But Her Robert really with a deserving victory, and they're playing the same way that we saw him previously, and getting a very fast and dominating win in this case.
So Her Robert's going to be moving on to the lower bracket round 5 to play off against Bumblebee Potato. And yeah, Chickendew, commiserations to him, going to be knocked out. But that's going to be it for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.